Greetings, everybody. Are we working? Somebody give me a thumbs up for some sound and a picture. Hey, Art. Glad you made it. Alistair, welcome. Robert from Illinois. What part of Illinois, Robert? I have a friend from Illinois who's on this evening, but she's from Peoria. How's everybody doing? Fred, how are you? Blair. Blair is calling us from the future, where he has grown a beard that makes me want to shave mine off. Blair, I didn't realize that was your beard I was looking at on Discord. Impressive. Impressive indeed. All right. Marilyn, how are you? Gianuzzi, are you from Wales? No, I don't think so. Phil, Jim, Ohio, very nice. Ron, settling into St. Louis. All right, good. Thumbs up on the audio and video. Good to hear, because I did experiment this afternoon. I was trying to get a better microphone than the built-in microphone, and I messed everything up and had to start over again. There's something wrong with, well, you don't need to know about that, do you? We've got too much stuff to cover. We've got a lot of stuff to cover today. Most of it's about photography, but not all of it. In talking to my friends over the holidays, I got some feedback about the whole live concept, which was good because I asked for it. I wanted to know what everybody thought of it, and as far as filling a need, providing a service, entertaining, that type of thing. And the feedback I got was that most of the people who were offering feedback wanted a more formal kind of rigid approach to answering questions, that there would be some period of time when I would address questions and then we could mess around for the rest of the time. That hasn't been my philosophy about it. I rather like the fact that you guys chat amongst yourselves and then a question will be asked and we'll deal with that and then we'll move on to something else. But I get their point. I get their point about people who go to the trouble of asking a question in advance, want to get that question answered right away. They don't want to have to wait and see if I do answer it. So on that note then, what I'm going to try to do is make it easier for you to submit questions. The best way for you to do that, if you are a Patreon member, is to put your question in a Patreon message to me. I will always get that. And in fact, the first question I'm answering today is a Patreon question. The other way to do it is through Discord. Now, that may sound strange, seeing as I've not been good about Discord, but Discord is much more likely to get my attention than email, email being a bit of a problem right now. So that's the way. I think my audio is a bit hot. There we go. That way we can deal with the important questions up front, and then we'll deal with the rest as we go. Okay, so that's what we're going to do from now on, which means I've got to answer a question now. Now, there's another thing about questions. I am going to support everybody's right to chat amongst yourselves. Absolutely. In my live streams, you can do that. I have no problem with that. I figure if I do a good enough job to hold your attention, you'll want to talk with me about what your questions are. But until that happens, I'm perfectly happy for you to visit with one another. That's just as important to me. So when you have a question, you need to grab my attention by highlighting my name in the question thing. Now, there's a way you can do that, and somebody told me what it was only a few days ago, and I've already forgotten. But there's something you can press that will highlight your name. or my name, so that I can see that it's a question. It puts a yellow thing around my name. Okay, so anybody who's out there who actually knows what I'm talking about, would you please write in the box down there what it is they're supposed to do to make my name glow? I think that would be good. And then I'll know myself. It's simple. You just press a key on your keyboard and it does it. All right. So where was I? Answering questions. We'll start with the first question that I got from you guys tonight. Oh, somebody's already figured out how to do that highlighting my name thing. Excellent. Robert did. Robert? Oh no, that was me. Okay, forget I said that. Right, the first question was from Steve. Anybody else who has any feedback tonight, by the way, about the captions images that I'm kind of testing on you guys, let me know. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably saw one in Discord today. You maybe saw a couple of them on Patreon, but they're the only places I've released them. I may show you one later on here, but it's I've got a whole bunch of them. I mean, probably hundreds of them, and yeah, I never thought about showing them before, but now I am. Anyway, the first question was asked by Steve, who wanted to know, do I shoot tethered? And if so, what platform do I use? Well, I don't generally shoot tethered. I used to, and I don't anymore. When I did, I started out learning how to shoot tethered on Lightroom, in Lightroom. It was a very handy way to do it. It's got a pretty good intuitive interface. But once I learned how to use Zerine, and seeing as all I really do is focus stack, I started using that as my tethering interface. And that is what the question is about tonight that I got from Patreon, and the one that I'm going to address in just a minute. So the answer really is, as far as a current practice and platform, I don't have one, Steve, because I don't shoot tethered. Even when I'm shooting, you know, headshots or what have you, I don't do it anymore. It's mainly because I've just got one computer that I use, and it is attached to like 8 hard drives. For me to go anywhere with this laptop takes half an hour just to unplug it, so I generally don't do it. So that's it. Sorry I couldn't be more helpful. Hey Andrew, glad you made it, sir. And Robert, did I say hi to Robert? I hope I did. Greetings in Ocala, just round the corner in Florida. Very nice. All right, Daniel, is it freezing cold as all get out in BC? I'm sure it is. Steve would have said, though, if it was still snowing. All righty. Let me see. The question. No, before we do the question, I'm going to show you something. Some of you already saw, I think it was on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. It was one of those holiday days. I did a spontaneous live stream where I shared with folks how I do my framing as a Christmas kind of bonus thing. And this is one of my framed pictures. You're probably familiar with the picture. And I'm showing you this for 2 reasons. First of all, to see if anybody wants to buy it. It's signed in silver at the bottom. And the second reason is to show you the new hardware that I have just recently adopted. If you think this looks uncommonly neat and tidy, it's because I've started using ferrules on my picture wire instead of tying knots in it, and it looks so much nicer. Very, very professional look to it. Anyway, the way I do it is I use recycled frames. I take frames from junk shops and I rebuild them if necessary. If they're really pretty but in terrible shape, I'll put them back together. I sand them and paint them and fix them up and put their hardware back on, and then I frame the picture. I often buy new glass for them, and when they're finished, they just look absolutely fantastic. And I did a video on it, but it's a long video. It was the kind of thing that was more of a fun event in the afternoon, because you could watch me screw up my sound thing and really make a dog's breakfast out of the whole event, but at the same time see me mess up my calculations and everything else. If anybody's interested, please say so now, if you would, in a video that is a short video that just hits the high points of how to frame. I almost said a fine art print, but it's not a fine art print, it's just one of my prints. How do you frame a picture to make it look really professional in just the bullet points? I can show you how to do it, and I'll demonstrate each of the points, and I'll edit it down into a short video. If you want to see that. If you don't, I won't bother. So just let me know if that's of any interest to you. And if you want to buy this one, yeah, I'll sell it to you. But you've got to pay for shipping, so you might as well just go take a picture yourself. The shipping is obscene. It's just ridiculous. Okay, so the question came from Mark, and it was a really good question. It was this. I want to get a Wii Macro, and no, let me see if I can get this right. He wanted to know if the communication between the Wii Macro and Helicon focus was a good enough reason to choose the platform of Wii Macro for your rail over picking a stack shot, which can only communicate with Zerine. That's what he wanted to know. He wanted to know, is it that important? Is it that big a deal, or is it just a nice thing to have? Is it a bell or a whistle? Well, it required a big, long answer, and I'm going to give you the nuts and bolts of the answer. If you shoot tethered, if you are into the whole idea of shooting where you have a larger screen to set up your shot, if you have a computer that you can spare to do that, if the graphical user interface is important to you, if you want to have any enhanced controls it offers, then maybe it's worth thinking about. But at the end of the day, what is most important is not whether or not your program, your stacking program, can control the rail that you choose. That is secondary to which stacking program allows you to get the highest quality images. That's the only thing that matters to me, is the quality of the final image. And for that reason, I shoot with Zerine, and I stack with Zerine. And while I love the Wii Macro, it doesn't communicate with the Zerine, which might be a convenience issue if I shot tethered, but is a non-issue because I don't. Let me explain the difference between the two. They both consist of a wired USB connection between the focus stacking device, the rail, and your focus stacking software, Zerine or Helicon. They both allow you to communicate with your equipment, with the camera, and they both allow you to control the performance and the function of the rail. That is about as far as it goes. Helicon has a few drawbacks. It only works really with Nikon and Canon cameras. I'm sure that somebody's going to say, "Oh no, it doesn't. It works with Sony now, or they've done something to it." Back when I was testing it, it only worked with those two and not with all of them. But the difference between them is in several layers of sophistication. And now, I'll be honest, I used the Zerine interface with StackShot for a long time. I have never actually, for any period of time other than to test it out, have I used Helicon with Wii Macro. But I have Helicon and I have a Wii Macro, so I will probably be doing that. May do a video of that. But the difference between the two, and another reason I think that Zerine makes more sense to have if you're a serious macro photographer, is it gives you a lot of features that you don't get with the StackShot controller. The StackShot controller is great, and I use it, and I've learned to use it by itself. But for people who are doing like super high magnification or have specific needs for vibration control and things like that, the Zerine StackShot interface is very sophisticated. It allows you to control the movement of the rail using coarse and fine adjustment, like on a microscope, so that you can move the rail in big movements or in tiny movements to get it positioned right where you want it. It has, it's able to stack images directly from your camera into your computer over the link that you set up. So you can use it as a kind of an automatic stacking device. So as it's shooting the stack, it is stacking the images, which is kind of nice if you use that kind of thing, which I don't. Let me see. It automatically downloads, the Zerine one I know does this. It automatically downloads your drivers and everything if you're on the internet. If you're not, or I think if you're using the Helicon, you have to download the driver for your camera system separately. But I don't know that for a fact. The one of the things that the Zerine StackShot interface does is it makes the StackShot interruptible, which is huge if you're using one of the weird techniques that I talked about a few months ago of doing a surface scan on a subject. You can't do that with the StackShot interface. You can do that with the Wii Macro interface. You can pause, move your subject, and continue shooting a stack, not the same stack, a stack somewhere else. So it's great for that technique, but you can also pause it and resume it using the Zerine interface. It has a panic button, which I guess the StackShot controller does. Any button is the panic button. You touch any button and it stops. And you can program hotkeys into your computer so it does all the stuff you want to do. It also has a sophisticated memory to where you can, if you use, say, 5 different setups. I think I used a total at one time of about 10 that I use regularly. You can calculate your ideal step length every time you're using an EL Nikkor at f5.6 at magnification of 3 times. That is a step length right there, and you can program that into the interface so that when you're using Zerine and StackShot, all you have to do is pull that up. You don't have to calculate it every time. You just press a button and it'll know what you want to do. That's nice. So there are other things. The Zerine interface lets you change the high precision threshold. In other words, you can set the point at which it kicks into high precision mode, which is the point it starts to drive you insane with that buzzing noise. Some people think that the precision mode should kick in at 20 microns. I don't use it until I'm below about 10 microns, but you can set it up any way you want using that interface. I'm not sure if you can do that through the settings in the box. I don't think so. I think you just are stuck with whatever it gives you. Another thing you can do with the Zerine is you can log all your communications with the system. So you can actually keep a file that has every interaction with the device that you have. So if you, for any reason, need to debug it or anything like that, you can. It has an external trigger command as well, so that you could, at the same time that Zerine is sending a signal off to the StackShot to fire, no, StackShot's sending the signal to the camera to fire the shot. It's also sending a signal to the computer so that you could have a third-party piece of hardware that was also being triggered synchronously with your camera. So these are all things that you may never use, but you know, you have them if you need them. And I think that's everything. There's one thing that it does. I never knew what it meant. I still don't know what it means, and I read about it today. It has the ability to simulate keystrokes. Well, you know, what does it do that? I mean, I don't understand exactly what that means, but it can. It can pretend to do something so that other cameras will do what they tell it to do. So the question is, do you need to have the interface to take better pictures? No, you don't. You don't need to have either of them. Is the interface that's available between Helicon and Wii Macro a big enough deal to make the choice Wii Macro over Zerine? No, it's not. It's a convenience at best. And it's only a convenience if you've got a spare computer. The better stacking program is Zerine, and it would be nice, and I would love it if Zerine were to develop an interface with the Wii Macro, but they're not going to do that. And that's you know what it is. It doesn't change the fact, though, that there are several. Well, there is one crucially important thing you cannot do on Helicon that you can do in Zerine when it comes to stacking, and that's all about retouching from slabbed images, inputs. Just in case you haven't heard me rant about this, if you have, go make a cup of tea. This will only take 1 second. In Helicon, you can retouch from your original images, or you can retouch from your slabs if you do a slab process. You cannot retouch from both at the same time, which in my retouching workflow is absolutely mandatory. I have to have access to all of my inputs and all of my outputs in order to do that. In Helicon, when you do the slabbing process, you then have to save the slab outputs in a different folder. And when you try to import them back into the same project, they are misaligned and you can't retouch from them. And you cannot realign them. So that's why it's a problem, is it limits how much retouching I can do. And I use all my retouching sources on 10% maybe or 20% of my images, but I don't know beforehand which ones they are going to be. So to me, as a professional photographer who needs to have the best software available, the question should have been, not that the question was bad or anything, the question that would get to the core of the matter is, which program should I be using? And in my opinion, that is Zerine. It's the only one that is complete. Every new beta release of Helicon I test and try to see if they fixed the issue with retouching. And as of the most recent, they haven't. But when they do, that will be an important change. And there may be some very different advice. But for right now, that's all there is to it. I'm going to read a couple of questions. If you have any questions about this, let's get them out in the air now while folks are here. It is important that you pick the right program. I'm going to read and talk at the same time, so if I make any grammatical errors, then just ignore them. The captions comment that I made at the beginning was I take pictures, and oftentimes I'll see a photograph that I've taken, like I saw 2 of them this evening that I shot, and I will immediately think of something that would be funny to say, either for that bug to say or for somebody to say about that bug, and it's always bugs. And I usually make a copy of the image, and I put the caption on it and I stick it in a file that is a big file. It's got a lot of these things in there. And quite by accident, I pulled one of those pictures because it had been in the wrong file and dropped it in a post, I think on Patreon the other day. And somebody remarked, oh, that was funny. I'd love to see more of those. So I thought maybe I'd put a few out and see what people think, because I'm thinking maybe they would make a good subject for a calendar or a, some little publication that would make you laugh when you looked at it. So that's what they're talking about. And do you want to see one? Shall I show you one? Would that help for this to make sense? Let me put one up on the big screen while I'm reading comments. And now, this is very typical, and the reason I was reluctant to do this was because of my sense of humor. A lot of people don't understand my sense of humor. And it's embarrassing to me if they don't. So I'm going to, hang on a sec, I've got limited screen space all of a sudden, and I keep covering my controls up. Let me do this. I have to get to the button that puts the other screen on. So this is just one example that I made today, and I can't remember the name of the person whose photograph of the banana I borrowed. I'm going to find out, and I will give her credit for it. It was from Pexels. It was just a free image. I don't have an image of a banana. Anyway, I'll let you read that. All right, it's absolute silence. So it's a shame nobody thought that was funny. Oh well, that's it though. I saw another picture that I just finished this afternoon that really made me think that that's one I've got to do a caption for. Is that thing, and probably a bit zoomed in on it so you can really get the feel for where those eyes are pointing. There are about 100 funny captions that popped into my head when I saw that one. So anyway, what do you think? You think that's just keep it to yourself, Alan? That private file of yours is best just the way it is, or that's pretty funny. Do that. I'm also thinking of doing a competition. This is separate from the photo competition. This is just for fun, seeing if anybody else out there likes doing this kind of thing, and letting you guys send me a picture of something with a caption under it, because that would be hysterical for me, and then I'd show them. I'll tell you what, that's what we'll do. Take a picture, or have a picture, get one of your pictures that tickled you when you saw it, put a caption underneath it, and send it to me. In fact, don't send it to me. Go over to Discord, and by the time I get done with this live stream, Curly Toes will have set up a place on Discord that you can go to drop your captions, pictures. Am I right, Curly Toes? Silence again, but I think probably he will hear this. Maybe Blair will tell him I said it, because Curly Toes is doing computer things over on Discord that are helping make my life easier, so maybe he'll do that. So go to Discord, take a picture and a caption, put it in the place, the place that Curly Toes tells you to put it, and I'll show them all next week, unless there's a lot, like 3. I'll show the best ones next week. Okay, it's your chance to shine. And where was I? Oh, I was supposed to be looking for questions while I was talking to myself. Hang on. This is very, very much like walking and chewing gum at the same time. Almost forgot the word. It is complicated stuff, this. All these computer screens. All right. I'm looking for a question. So, has anybody figured out how to make the my name light up? Not yet. All right. Blair tells me not to shave mine off. I won't. I don't think I have a sharp enough blade to get it off now anyway. Susan. Susan, would you do me a favor and leave me a private message over on Patreon with your address, please? I can't find it. And there's something I've got to send off to you. So that would be great if you could do that. Andy, temperature, please. Minnesota, -50 tonight. Bruce, Brisbane? What are you doing in Brisbane, Bruce? You live in another place. You must be traveling. Good evening, Bud. Glad you could make it. Oh, your first insect, Fred. Should be dry and ready to shoot. Why was it wet? Did you wash it? Oh, you've had it out to dry. Well, tell me what it is and how you're going to shoot it, what you're going to shoot it with, and we will talk about that. I'll give you some tips. Yes. Yes to what, Blair? Oh, the caption concept? Somebody just got... No, it was Fred, just testing with the orange Allan Walls Photography. Okay, you got my attention, Fred. I went straight to it. Well done. Phil, post a picture without a caption and ask for captions. No. You've got to be inspired to come up with the photograph. I could do that, though. I've got one I just took that is just screaming out for a caption. I can't show it to you because it's still on the camera. For those of you who don't know it, I take pictures continuously when I'm here in the studio, so I'm always shooting, and I always have pictures coming off the conveyor belt, so to speak. But two of them were good, but one of them this evening of a Weevil, it always seems to be Weevils, is really good. You want me to do that? You want me to give you a picture? Well, that's going to take more preparation. What I'll do is I'll still talk to Curly Toes about getting us a little corner that we can do. I don't want to confuse it with the real competition, which is kind of serious. I want it to be serious anyway, so that this will be just for fun, though there'll probably be a prize as well, depending on how fun it is. So I'll talk to Curly Toes. There'll be a place that you can put your caption on my picture. Yeah, we'll do that. All right. That was easy to fix, wasn't it? Nikon Small World Calendar for 2023. Oh, the calendar is. Oh, okay. So that's the 2022 winners art? Yeah. Buy one, get one free. I'm not sure why you'd need two calendars, though. Don't they have exactly the same dates on them? I'm missing something there. Maybe put them in different rooms. Thank you, Susan. I'll get on my my job immediately after that. A case-sensitive hello from Northern Norway. Definitely. They should be case-sensitive. But Northern should also be capitalized, I think. Don't you? Just thinking. GTT, 24 degrees Fahrenheit in Andrew Lamberson's living room in Canada, Minnesota. Same difference. Gilles, what Phil A said. Okay, got to go back to what Phil A said. Post the pic. Yeah, okay. You're right. Okay, I post the picture. You post the caption. I've got it. I'm on it. Curly Toes has already been notified, in case he's not listening. That is just brilliant. I do love the parts of the computer world that actually work. The ones I understand, anyway. Steve F said something with sweary language in it because the message disappeared. John Lamb, I was given a jumping spider, and it was dead for 4 days. It has since come back to life. Is it possible to rehydrate and photograph, or will the colors... Oh, no, absolutely. No, the jumping spider, even if it's been in alcohol, is going to retain most of its colors. Now it depends. It was probably an Audax, is that what you had, or a Regis? If it depends on where the colors are, but most of them, their colors aren't pigment colors. Did you know that? They're interference colors. So what you're actually seeing is light that's being refracted in a certain way that's bouncing off the jumping spider. That's the blue balls at the end of the pseudopalps of the Audax spider. So yeah, no, you should be fine with good lighting. Get the thing as clean as you can and dry it. I wouldn't leave it in pure alcohol for too long. But yeah, absolutely dead for 4 days. You shouldn't be able to tell a difference. The eyes are going to be the one problem that you have if you don't get the thing into liquid of some kind. The eyes dry terribly and they get this kind of cataracty look to them. Anybody over on Discord who saw my note over Christmas saw a picture of a jumping spider that got left out by mistake, and its eyes are just terrible. But no, if it's a freshly dead jumping spider, I think that you'll be very pleased with the results. It might not look good now if you've got it in alcohol. That kind of kills the colors, but when you take it out and wash it and dry it, it will be. All right. Now GT Twin Cam is going to explain to me what he meant by case sensitive. My name is case sensitive for the @ to work and light up. Oh, that's what you do. You put in @ with small a or big A. Hang on. Should I try it? No, it's big A. So, all right. So it's @ Allan Walls Photography, big A, Allan, big W Walls, big P Photography, and space, as if you were writing it in English, right? @ Allan Walls Photography. Do that. My name shows up in orange, and I'll go straight to it as a question. Right. I have a chrysochroa. I had a chrysochroa on a pin last night, and I was photographing it. Bordoni, I don't know. And that's a big insect though. Let me have a look just to make sure. Where did you buy it from, Fred? And did you wash it thoroughly? These are all important questions, but you don't have to answer them now. And this is your first insect photograph ever. Really? That's brilliant. This is one of my more fascinating features during the live stream, is where I play on the computer. I would be interested to hear which vendor you bought your chrysochroa from. And I've already forgotten the name of it. Chrysochroa. It's disappeared. No, there it is. Bordoni. Chrysochroa. Yeah, hang on. I'm going to show you the picture, so it's not going to be as bad as watching me type all night. Yeah, that is actually the same beetle that I photographed last night. Is it the red and green one? Orange and green one? Here, let me show you guys. I should have done that in the first place. So this is Chrysochroa is a big old jewel beetle. Some of them are more attractive than others. I wonder where you got yours from, but yeah, they're a big beetle, but they do take pretty photographs. So just make sure he's dry. Pin him between his thorax and his abdomen, and make sure you put a little bit of super glue on the pin. I actually pin these. I stick the pin into the thorax. If you try to glue a pin on, it'll just fall off. It weighs about ½ pound. It's a big insect. The Picture I took last night was really disappointing though. Not good lighting. All right, let me get back to where I was. Oh, there's another thing that you can do. If you hover your pointer over the $ at the bottom, it says that you can show your support. Now, my goal is on the 3rd of January is to get my car fixed, is to get my, what's it called, valve cover and head gasket replaced. So I don't think that there's enough people in the world to cover that bill. But if you've got an extra $1, toss it in there. This is just begging, isn't it? It's terrible. It's so undignified. Now everybody's put my name in orange, so I don't know where the questions are. I'll keep reading though. Yeah, it is a Regis. I guess right. No, that's John saying it is. It was. Oh no, it was John who got the spider. Yeah, it should be fine. I think was it a big one? Those Regis spiders can be 1 centimeter across. I mean, they're gigantic. The jumping spiders that live in my house are only about 4 millimeters, but I have a lot of them. I've never killed them, and I won't let the bug guy put down anything that kills spiders, because they come visit me on the desk. And I photograph them sitting at the desk. I really do. I'm not making that up. Let me see. That's clever art about putting the calendars in 2 different rooms. So if like you check and see it's the 6th today in the living room, and you go into the dining room and forget what day it is, you can check. Yeah. Or you could write it on your hand like I do. Remember it that way. Either way, I don't want a jumping spider, a live one that I have to feed though. It's hard taking care of pets, because you have to remember that they're there, and you are responsible for feeding them. Though it would be nice to train one. People who photograph jumping spiders train them all so that they'll all do those poses for them. Oh, you Steve was trying to bold my name. Robert got it right. And John Lamb is in a jar, airtight. Oh, that's where your spider is. Okay, that's good. I was going to tell you to get out of there, because you'll run out of oxygen eventually. That's probably okay for a couple of days, but I would not leave it just sealed in a jar. If you're going to keep it dry, put it in a little cardboard box, or a leaky plastic box, something that lets the air exchange. That's how they dry. If they're sealed, they tend to get moldy. Yep, it's a fact. Question from Robert. Have I used UV lighting on photographing insects? Yeah, I have. To fairly disappointing results, honestly. There are more interesting subjects in the plant kingdom that have a lot of hidden colors and patterns on their leaves and what have you. There are relatively few insects that have much of a display, at least not to my experimentation. Things like arachnids, scorpions in particular, some of those are impressive, glow-in-the-dark type things with a little UV light, but I haven't had any luck with insects. I have already made a video. I've made several videos, but I've made one about UVIVF, ultraviolet stimulated visible light photography. It's where you shine the UV light on something and it glows and you take pictures of it. I did that, and I made the video with a collection of glow-in-the-dark, not glow-in-the-dark, a collection of UV excitable fluorescent minerals that I was lent. And I still have all that footage ready to go. It just lacked interest for a macro photographer sufficiently for me to want to put it out. I was hoping that I would come across some insects and be able to bring it into the macro world where I live, but I haven't. I will probably release it because it's a decent video and it shows you how to do UVIVF. So, yeah, okay. All right. Is it better to stick with denatured alcohol or when just... Yeah, you're asking if it's best to use alcohol or rubbing alcohol, ethanol or isopropyl alcohol, right? Ethanol's best, in my opinion. It preserves the colors better, but a dilute isopropyl alcohol also works. I, for a time, went from using 70% isopropyl alcohol to using 90%, and that I didn't like. It causes the insects to dry out too fast when you take them out of the alcohol. They really desiccate right in front of your eyes, and their eyes will... If you've ever photographed something small like a mosquito that's been in alcohol and you take it out on a pin, you put it on your stage, you focus and start shooting, what happens is you'll see the eyes cover over with a white mist, like between frames. It'll be a shot of a nice black eye, and a second shot, it's all white. That's because of the alcohol. It's when it reaches a critical point in the evaporation, and it all evaporates at once from the coverings on the eye. They cloud over, and it ruins pictures. It ruined a picture for me the other day. I like to take them out of the alcohol, soak them in water to equilibrate all the fluids in the thing's body, and then dry it from water. But that is a pain, and it takes a while to do. So what I found you can do is just use 50 to 70% ethanol, and it will it'll dry slower and more evenly, and it won't give you those white eyes. So there you go. That's my 2 cents worth. Well, actually, no, that's now my holy mackerel. I don't know what 50 knocks are, but I like the sound of it. 50's a good. What is that? A Norwegian krona or a I don't know. That's from GT Twin Cam. Is that not what you say? No, it's obvious that it's twin cam. You have a nice car, I presume. Anyway, that's very generous of you. Thank you. And Fred, thank you so much. Gee, Willikers, I should ask this more often. Yeah, that's great. Are you saying don't keep spiders too long in alcohol because the colors disappear? Nope, not what I'm saying. But don't leave them dry too long because the eyes go bad. No, the eyes go bad when you dry from alcohol. The eyes go bad if you just leave it sitting out for a week like I did. So you need to preserve it. If you're going to dry preserve it, it needs to be dried when you get it. You need to actively dry it and put it in storage. What I did was I had a spider that had been in alcohol. I took it out, I dried it in the air from the alcohol, and then I left it out for 4 days. So I'd broken down the structure in the eye. It hadn't just dehydrated, it had kind of reconstituted, and then the proteins fell apart. That's what happens. So the idea is you need to pick a way you're going to preserve, and then have a plan to take it out of preservative to shoot, and then what you're going to do with it afterwards. And I went through this the other day as far as my general rules for buying bugs, and I cover that in some detail in that video. But if you buy a bug dry, keep it dry. If you buy a bug wet, keep it wet. And the same would go for if you have a bug that you catch and wet, keep it wet. And if you catch it and decide to dry it, then from that point on, keep it dry. The difficult question is when you have a dry bug that gets wet, as will happen if you have a bug that you need to clean, a particularly dirty beetle, for example. You might not be able to get away without ultrasonic cleaning or soap and water cleaning, and once that happens, you're going to get them wet, and at that point you have to decide, should I dry it or leave it wet? My personal preference is once wet, leave it wet. They seem to last longer. Hey, Borderland Peppers, glad you made it. Did you have a good Christmas? I hope so. All right, so the answer for keeping colors and eyes is consistent preservation. But if I had to pick a method for a spider, I would. It's hard. Spiders are the hardest of the things that I photograph to keep looking respectable, and the reason is they're soft-bodied. I like alcohol for them because their bodies will kind of pickle and they will stay together. If you try to dry them and they have any moisture in them at all, they'll rot. And if you get them wet after they've been dried, they liquefy inside. They're like a bag of spider guts. They're hard to do. It's the one time for soft-bodied things like larvae, caterpillars, if you can do it, and you need to experiment with this, but if you can do it without destroying them, boiling them is good. Boiling them will fix all of their proteins right there and allow you to then put it in alcohol and keep it indefinitely. I would never risk doing that on a pretty caterpillar or anything like that. I wouldn't boil it. But I certainly do that with small caterpillars and maggots. I'm kind of getting off the subject a little bit, but this is what I really love to do is find ways to make insects look better. So, Robert can't get it to highlight. Well, it's at and then Allan Walls Photography with big A, big W, big P, and a space between each word. That's how you do it. Am I right about that? You said you can't get it to highlight, but Robert, you got it to highlight the line above that. It's got it right. I'm very confused. So is Art. Art's got his hands up over his face in his emoji. All right. You guys are the best. That is so generous of you. Thank you. That really is going to make a difference, because I don't know how I'm going to get my car fixed. I had to tell them, yeah, of course I can afford that. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, Mike, oh, welcome. This is your first time watching. I'm glad you stopped by. Glad you've got a question. I'll try to answer it. Do you have a video on what I do when I get a bug, washing it, mounting it? Something's buzzing over there where my camera is. Yes, I have dozens of videos. Do you belong to Discord by any chance? That's what I would do, Mike. I'll put in the show description in the recording of this session. I'll put an invitation to Discord. Go over to Discord, and when you're over there, ask anybody. There's a place you can just ask a question about my videos on that subject. That's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is go to my website. It's called allanwallsphotography.com. https://www.allanwallsphotography.com. Go there, go to my articles and videos page. and search in the search bar for what it is you want to find, which in your case would be prep, bug preparation. And you'll find all my videos and articles that go through all of that at enormous length. If you have a specific question that I can answer in, you know, a couple of 5 minutes or something, then send it to me or bring it next week, and I'll give you an answer. But certainly the folks over at Patreon, I mean the folks, well, them too. The folks over at Discord or Patreon are going to be able to give you those. And you can also leave me a message over there, and I can give you the links to the various videos. But the answer is yes. Look through my back catalogue. There was a period of time when I must have done 10 in a row on that subject. And thanks for coming, and tell your macro friends. This is a fun place to hang out. I think so anyway. All right. Well, Art, if you'd explained that you went back and forth checking the calendars to make sure the day doesn't change, then I would have understood. So that does make perfect sense. Good. Oh, it highlights for the recipient only, says Anaphylaxis. And anybody named Anaphylaxis knows that it's a fact. So there you go. So I'm the only one that can see it. Stuart Wood does a lot of macro photography. He does. He actually has live jumping spiders, and he knows how to keep them alive. I don't. I can't keep plants alive. I cannot keep cactuses alive. And you don't have to do anything at all to a cactus. You just have to not kill it. So yeah, I don't think spiders would do well. I think that he really has it figured out. Mr. Wood does, and he has lovely spiders, big spiders too. Yep. And he does have a whole bunch of videos on how to keep them and keep them alive. Yeah, that's a good point. I'd forgotten about that. Very good. Art polarized light. That is a statement more than a question, but yeah. I don't know how to answer it. I'll just say yes, polarized light. All right, according to YouTube help, if you type @ followed by your name, it should be highlighted for you, and the sender doesn't seem to work. Yeah, I don't know. It worked in that sentence though, Steve. It came across just fine. It is working that way. If you ask a question, you should try it, definitely. Anaphylaxis recapitulates. It's only highlighted for the person with the @ in front of their name, which is me in this case. So that's what it is. It's looking normal to you, but it's looking orange to me. So I'm seeing it. Anaphylaxis, brilliant. Well done. Okay, Blair. You've been meaning to try UVIVF on insects. Yep, the trick is going to be finding the insects. There are a few Coleoptera that glow in the dark. Not glow in the dark, glow under UV light. There are, oh dearie me, now I'm not going to remember what the other, I think it's some Orthoptera, some jumping things, grasshoppers. I'll check, Blair, I'll check and I'll get back to you on that. Because this ought to kick me in the seat of the pants to get on with that UVIVF video, because UVIVF is fascinating, and the tool that I have for it is this Jacksman. Captain Martinez donated this last year, and I use this every day. It takes an 18650 battery, which is a powerful battery. It's a powerful light. It's like 5 watts or something, 5 megawatts. This thing puts out a lot of energy, and it puts it out in the wavelength that you can't see. So this, you hardly know you're looking at anything with this. So you have to wear goggles when you do it. But I use it to cure Bondic, among other things. But I have not had any luck finding good insects to do UVIVF on. even the ones that I've gone out to catch that are supposedly good fluorescers don't. I think they just fluoresce at a very low level is the problem. But yeah, we can work on that together. I mean, I can look around. Certainly, a scorpion's the best way to go, but I don't encourage scorpions in my house. They give me the creeps, to be honest. I don't like scorpions at all. All right. Anyway, it's fun, and yeah, it would be good to see your pictures, and that would definitely get me interested in doing it again. I have never seen such confusion over the highlighting of a name, though I couldn't have told you what to do, so it's probably reasonable. Yes, after you boil and photograph the insects, they do make good eating. I bought some of those dried maggots to eat. I just couldn't get it in my mouth. I tried. I'm sure they're quite tasty. They didn't look. They looked like maggots, and I wasn't going to eat them. Waste of money that was. $5 I'll never get back. Andy asks, would you discuss the similarities between a bellows and the Wii Macro Raynox 150 tube using a Mitutoyo 5X? Yeah. If you are only ever going to shoot with a reversed Raynox and a Mitutoyo 5X objective, that's all you're going to use. It doesn't make any difference what setup you use. The tubes and the bellows are exactly the same. They are providing two lengths of air. That is it. It's the air from the sensor to your Raynox, and then the air from the front of the Raynox to your objective, or the back of your Raynox to the objective. It can be a hollowed out camera lens, it can be a piece of PVC pipe, it can be a bellows, or it can be extension tubes. It makes no difference. But if, like me, you are going to pull that objective off the setup and slap on an enlarger lens to take one picture, and then you're going to jump to a 20x objective and then back to a 5x, you're going to be having to change out those tubes to the specific length at which you focus the tube lens. When you use a tube lens, of course, you need to focus it at infinity, because that's what it is going to put the image on the sensor with. So that means that while for a reversed Raynox that's 208 millimeters, for a non-reversed Raynox it's 200 millimeters, and for an ITL 200 reversed it's 245 millimeters. So you'd have to have a separate setup for every lens, and you'd have to have helicoids bit in front of and behind the relay lens so you could change the infinity length and fine-tune the extension. So I choose to use a bellows, because with a bellows it is the work of a second to slap on the front elements, so the relay lens out to the objective, which is always the same. That never changes. I use a very long infinity space of about 75 millimeters. Some people use a very short length and others use in between, but it is the same regardless of the relay lens you're using. So the front piece always stays the same. So all of my objectives are attached to tubes that give me the infinity space that I want. But the other piece that is variable between lenses, bellows. It's the only way to go. The exception to that, and even that may change, is that on my vertical rig I use tubes because of what I perceive to be better structural integrity that you get from a tube system close to the upright than from bellows, which is by necessity way out on a limb. Having said that, Bud friend of the show, Bud, uses a vertical bellows rig that is impressive. So I think that that's something that I am open to going with. But that's why. That's the difference. I hope that answers. Yes, polarized light. Yeah, well, you would use polarized light if you were using a cross polarization technique to cut down the reflectivity of your insects, right? But we're talking specifically about UV, which is going to cause some insects to fluoresce. I wish I could remember what they were. Okay, so Todd's got a new beetle and it's floating in ethyl alcohol. How do you hold him down? Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, no, you want to fill up your containers with enough alcohol that keeps them underneath. I avoid putting anything on top of them, though on rare occasions I've had bugs that are so full of air that I just can't get them to sink at all. If you can't fill the container all the way up and then put the lid on to hold it under, then one thing I have done in the past is use a piece of filter paper, cut out just the filter paper in a circle will often hold the bug just under the surface of the liquid. Yeah, that's a good question though. I haven't ever been asked that one before. You're welcome, Mike. This is a cool place to come to get answers to questions or to just chat about macro. We talk about all kinds of things. Really, whatever comes up, we'll talk about. Yeah, we do it all if it's macro related. Let me see. Yeah, Blair, not interested in photographing spiders. I photograph spiders when I find, usually in my collection net, a spider that is just too interesting not to photograph. I prefer to photograph them live, but I hate them when they're alive because they crawl on you, or they crawl on me. We have spiders around here. I'm in the southern United States, in a area of swampland, or there is swampland near me. When you go in the woods here, for most of the year, except like when it's freezing, there are spiders that are as big as my hand, and they like to live in only one place, and that is the middle of the trail that you walk in, suspended on cobwebs the size of, say, a Volkswagen. And they just suspend there in the middle of the walk, waiting for my face to hit it. And yeah, they terrify me. Absolutely, I don't even like being near them. Would you like to see a picture of one? I've just run 15 minutes over again without even realizing what time it was. So I can't show you a picture of one. I've run out of time. Blimey. And there's questions I haven't answered. There you go. Wouldn't you know it? And I thought we were doing so well today. All right. Nobody wants to buy my photograph, but people have generously thrown a few bucks in the hat, and I'm grateful for that. Thank you all. Did I get to everything on my list? Not even close. I didn't announce the new live stream, and I can't because now it's too late. But there's going to be a live stream. I'm going to do a separate one of these later in the week during the day for my European viewers who cannot watch this at 1 o'clock in the morning and they want to participate. They don't want to see the video, or they want to see the video but they also want to participate. So I'm going to give that a try out. So if you're watching this as a recording and you're in Europe, then yeah, you don't have to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to watch it, because I'll do it at lunchtime here, so it'll be evening over there, 8 o'clock or something. Okay, so that I did that. I meant to ask, you guys need to give me some photo competition theme recommendations for next year if you want to weigh the scales in your favor. Come up with a theme that you like and tell me about it. I got one person say yes on the framing video, so that doesn't exactly qualify as a massive amount of interest, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think it'll be fun to do, and that's it. Finished. That was a lot of talking. I am going to, as always, go back through the questions. Now, there were a couple of people made comments and asked questions at the end last time, and of course, I can't answer the comments that you leave in chat once the thing's over, which is a shame because there were a couple of really nice comments and a couple of really good questions that I couldn't directly answer, and I can't remember what they were now. Yeah, what's the solution to that? There is no solution to that. I don't know what we do. Maybe if I just kept up, that would be it. All right, so if you sent me a message, no, let me think about that one too, and I'll get back to you next week. There has to be a way for me to recognize the questions I don't get to, but I'll think about it. All right, guys, take care, stay safe, and take lots of pictures, and I will take care of this caption competition and get it set up right away. Thank you for coming, and thank you for making this part of my job the most fun. I absolutely love doing this, and yeah, it's great to be with you. I'll see you again, yeah, maybe for the European live stream as soon as later this week. I'll announce it on Discord. I'll announce it on Patreon. If you want to join Patreon, you would be welcome over there. That's a fine group of people. So take care. I'll see you guys in a few days. Be safe, everybody.